Let's just move on to the main panel session now in terms of offering the opportunity for the delegates to ask any questions. There's quite a lot of material we've covered today, a lot of really good stuff. I hope people have learned quite a lot. But if you want some further clarification, if there's any particular aspects that you want some more details on, or any other aspects of finance that you want to question the panel on, feel free to do so. So I'll just open it out to the delegates.
Yeah, so basically what we spoke about over here was kind of generally speaking what banks are offering, not just particularly the NatWest Bank, mainly the main sort of top 5-6 high street banks offer a similar product in that there'll be an unsecured small business loan from £0 to £35,000. In terms of the specific pricing, the pricing differs from bank to bank. If you want to know more about the actual NatWest Bank's pricing structure, how much interest we'll be charging, more than happy to, you can come and speak to me and we'll exchange details, and I can give you a brochure which outlines all of our interest rates for the different amounts of loans that you can borrow from us. But yeah, unfortunately there's no interest-free loans. You'll be paying some interest on our loans.
Exactly. I forgot to mention, if you want to tell us who you are and which organisation you represent or which business you want to represent, feel free to do so. If you want to ask anonymously, feel free to do that too. Any other questions?
Well, we can do you 2 loans for both businesses if that's what you need. I think the issue is understanding what you need first of all. And my experience tells me that sometimes people will come and say, I might not know what I want, but I think I need X, Y, or Z, and we'll have a discussion about it. I think as Faisal and Liz have said, there is a range of different lenders out there and a lot of different products. The issue might be that your request might be multitudinal, and there might be asset finance for part of it and invoice finance for part of it. There could be different solutions for every application. I go back again, that's why credit scoring really doesn't work in commercial, because you need to have a holistic approach to it and be prepared that there might be more than one way to solve it, and that might be more than one product. So I don't know if that answers your question, but what I would say is for cash flow, there might be one product or a different product that's better for you. There might be 2 businesses with different needs. So every case on its own merits. Yeah, what was your name, sorry?
Chris.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, I would take my hat off to you, because anyone starts in business, you've got so many hats to wear. So first of all, congratulations and good luck to get you started. In terms of funding, often it does come in fairly early stage. The key for us is that the government scheme is fantastic for somebody like you. The position for us is that we perform a social function. So for us, we're very much there to pick up the people that cannot access mainstream funding. So it's not a critique, it's not a measure, it's there to say we recognise there are people and proposals up and down the country that will not fit mainstream lenders, no matter how many there are. There always will be those that fall through the gaps. And we're there to perform that function, to try and say, okay, So every day I deal with customers who have got a personal credit issue or a previous commercial issue, or some aspect of that proposal that would have not fitted a normal borrowing proposal by the mainstream lenders for very legitimate reasons. I would like to think, and I would hope to say, I'm not going to say that we agree every single loan, but we're lending predominantly to people that have been told no by somebody else. We're not here to compete with the mainstream guys. They do a fantastic job. But we're here to get the guys who fall through those gaps every day. So, Chris, don't be put off if you've been told no by somebody. Know about us and give us a call, and I'd be delighted to see if we could help you. Thanks. It's a great question and a common question. No, we don't. I think when we first started, the government function was that to ensure we were only lending to people. We don't. So we don't need a letter or a signed, framed decline by your bank. We don't need that at all. Remember, most of our business comes from my contacts at the banks who say, we can do part of this, but we can't do all of it. Could you come along and help us? And we do a partnership loan. Or it comes from the client who says that the bank were quite fair that they couldn't do it. They explained to me why. So we don't need a formal letter, but it needs to be for some reason why that they can't access mainstream. Because as an ex-banker, I'll be the first to walk them down to Faisal's office and say, you've got a great business proposal there. Just because you don't have a good banking relationship, just because you're fearful or lacking the knowledge or where to go, then it's still the right place would be the mainstream bank. I'll walk you down there myself, I'll book the appointment, I'll introduce you. It's horses for courses, and we'll always do the right thing by the client.
And you look at different sorts of criteria, don't you? Banks, for logical reasons, generally have automated systems then supplemented with relationship management. I think yours is more of a personal approach of trying to understand the individual and looking at, as you said, ignoring credit reporting altogether.
I mean, that's the beauty. I mean, it does come with grey hair that you get this experience, but the point of what we do is we only lend. So you still need a current account. You still need a relationship and all those other services. So we're not here to impinge on that. We're here to perform the function they can't do and maintain your relationship with your bank. Because all businesses need a few good key relationships. An accountant is another good one that you need to have. You need to have these people around you of trust that you can go and talk to and be a sounding board. I think the days have gone when you feel that you just can be sold to. So you do need to have a good relationship with your bank. You do need to have a good relationship with your accountant. And these are the keys. And we're not here to disturb that. We're here to just fulfil that function and help you.
Jeremy's spoken quite a lot. Melissa, would you
I
like
think
to
that's quite a political
that?
question, isn't it? But in terms of our projects and why you saw that logo is that a number of our projects are European funded, so you're absolutely right. We have got a commitment to one of those programmes. Many of them, I think, a 3-year period sort of funded, so those will continue to be funded. Obviously, it's quite difficult to say at this stage in time what's going to happen, in terms of sort of Brexit and it's a bigger thing than me, really. It's a bigger thing than the Leeds City region. It's national wide, and it's quite difficult to say. I mean, we're still seeing trends of people wanting to invest in the Leeds City region, so there's still confidence from that point of view. But obviously, it's very difficult to kind of say at this moment in time in terms of how sort of independent businesses feel in terms of their confidence and what that means post-Brexit. And I think that's still to sort of be talked through. And, obviously, as we start to understand a little bit more about what's happening politically and where those negotiations are taking us, we'll be in a better position to start updating businesses on really what support is there to help them and what we can do and what we can continue to do, what we can't do, and help to manage expectations in that way. But I think it's a personal thing, it depends what your business does. At the moment, it's great for those. We get a lot of manufacturing businesses, as an example, that are reporting high levels of confidence because they're managing to export quite a bit just due to the rates of exchange. So it depends what your business does. It depends what you're seeking to do. It's quite a difficult question to answer, to be honest, but I hope that's kind of given you a little bit of an answer.
Follow up to that,
Jeremy?
just a quick one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Jeremy, European funding is part of your portfolio, but not totally, is it?
I think that's the case, yeah. So from little acorns, big oaks grow. And, our success story has been the fact that we're diverse. We lend across all sectors, as Melissa says. We lend across all parts of the county and all parts of the region. The common sense about that is that to some degree, the politicism of it shouldn't really impact, because you still want to provide funding to the people of your country who are going to generate the economic return. And as we know, the business community, are the backbone of this country. And also provide the employment for the backbone of this country. So, you know, whether it's red, blue or yellow, whether it's UK or European, it makes common sense. Now, that said, your question was directed at, you know, after Brexit. After Brexit, we signed a 5-year contract that brought us 10 million. You know, the fact that you recycle money and turn that back out to the next client is economic sense. So I see it less of a political issue and more of a fact that whoever's in charge of the purse strings would always still want to provide that same function, to lend money, to keep to oil the wheels of commerce that create the employment and the economic return back into the economy. That just makes common sense to me. So I'm less and less concerned about it.
Come along to the conference. We've got a special session on devolution on November the 6th. Absolutely. Anybody like to say anything on that particular part?
Well, devolution's just really an opportunity regions to have control of their own sort of spending and investment, and looking at how the infrastructure works within their own region. So it's just really about that kind of local control. That's essentially, so it would create opportunities for powers and word I'm looking for. But yeah, that's the word. More autonomy, really. But again, you're asking lots of political questions tonight, putting us on the spot. I don't know whether, I mean, I do think, you know, devolution could help certainly in the region. I know that's what we're working towards, but in terms of sort of talking a little bit more about that, it's quite difficult because we don't know where we are with that at this moment in time. And again, it's the kind of thing, not that I'm wanting to be sort of dismissive, but it's the kind of thing that a lot of my colleagues, certainly on our policy, in the policy team, and those that are certainly significantly higher in the structure than I am, are sort of working out at the moment. Yeah.
We do have a session specifically on devolution and at the end expo. Any other points? Yes.
Funny thing is, our social impact report, actually, as a bank manager, I used to complain I didn't have enough manufacturers, and the Calderdale and Kirklees Manufacturers Alliance that you allude to, the CKMA, I've been out to the White Knight Tumble Dryer, great night, a great event meeting manufacturers, but as a banker, I just didn't have enough people that were making things. We're very much a service industry. When I look at our social impact report, 25% of our lending has been to manufacturing. So the fact that we lend across those sectors, and I'm sure Faisal will tell you the same, that there'll be few red sectors based on political and economic factors, and that's what credit policy is there to do. It's there to adapt to the changing environment. I'm pleased to say that we lend across the sectors, but it doesn't matter whether you're manufacturing or not. I just wanted to give you some examples of real businesses that are a stone's throw from here, that are real people. They're the size of businesses where it's owner businesses. There might be 2-3 directors. There might be one sole trader. I just want you to realise that these are real stories. That's the only reason I've given you a couple of examples of successes there.
And there were great examples, you know, really good examples. There were excellent examples. I guess what I'm alluding to is in our business we don't have, we have a load of IT equipment that's value. We have, you know, furniture, and we have intangible assets around intellectual property and tools and all this kind of stuff and brand identity. But I can say to you, we've got, a 3D printing press or a fleet of Mercedes cars that we show for people around in as collateral for a loan. So how would we secure that? Would that be based on? I suppose it's a different criteria depending on which one of you are responding.
Well, the issue you've got is that those items cannot be used as collateral, so you will struggle to have collateral. You're really looking at property. unless you're willing to put 2 of your children in the safe, you know, you're going to lack collateral. And that, as I say, is the number one reason why you would be declined by a mainstream lender. Not that they want to decline you, they want to help you. You're their client, you're their business. It's just being able to lend unsecured as we are is because that is our function. It's not a competitive edge. It's there to fulfill, to get the businesses like you who need that money but don't meet the criteria of collateralized debt, that we're there to provide that alternative for you.
Liz, Faisal, would you like to add anything in terms of...
Yeah, I mean, there are bank lending products where we don't seek tangible security. Each deal is looked on its own merit. So we lend to businesses, overdraft facilities, 100 grand, and we may lend on just a personal guarantee for that if we're happy with the directors behind it. With the technology, if you've got a business that does use a lot of technology, computers, that type of thing, that can all be funded through the asset finance, and basically you are putting them computers as collateral, because the asset finance company can come and take them away if you don't meet that. And with the invoice finance that Faisal touched upon, a lot of people choose that route to raise the working capital because they don't want to give security and they want that business to stand on its own 2 feet. They don't want the house, you know, and they do need a big facility. So in that way, your debtor book's secure in your lending. So there are options with us. We don't have an amount where we say it must be secured. It is, you know, and with, just to touch on something that was said earlier about like a computer doing the assessing. In the area that me and Faisal mainly work, which is borrowing over 35,000, we don't have a computer doing it. It is us. So we come out, we go through everything with you, we get a feel for the deal, and we then can help you and say, well, another customer did it this way, that might work. Up to the 35. Yeah, I know putting it in a computer and algorithms and everything, it's not brilliant, but to be honest, so many customers want that. They want to be able to just sit at the desk, put it in the computer and get an answer back in 5 minutes. So the banks are having to move with that as well to compete with all the fintech companies. But yeah, don't think that you can't borrow. And your sector in the bank is not at all a red sector. We love service industries.
I think the key thing here for you to understand is that you should come and speak to the bank managers. Okay, don't assume that the banks aren't lending. Okay, you need to have a conversation. I know with a lot of banks, including ourselves, the culture is if your turnover is below a certain amount, then you may not have a face-to-face relationship manager. But having said that, there's nothing wrong with you going to the bank and saying, look, I do want to speak to a business manager in regards to my proposal and what I want to discuss. And I don't like to just sit there and do paperwork all day long. The favourite part of my job is that I like to sit with clients and businesses and actually put deals together and discuss your business and how we can give you some support. And this is the beauty of the whole setup is that we do actually have external professionals such as the likes of Jeremy from Business Enterprise Fund, where we can sit down and we may be able to look at supporting you for a certain part of your request, but then if we feel that, okay, we may not have an appetite to lend you over a certain amount because of security or other issues, this is where we work with Jeremy. And I mean, personally, I've never worked with Jeremy himself, but I work with Julie Micklethwaite, who's one of Jerry's colleagues here in Bradford, and we've done some good business together in collaboration. So like what Liz says, we are far from this world of computer says yes, computer says no. I know previously that may have been the culture, but now we very much sit with the clients and we understand what your specific requirements are. And the way you've described your firm, if you've grown from no borrowing and you've come to a stage now where you're an established business and you may not have property and a lot of it, you know, maybe fixtures, fittings and other things, but you know, we need to understand what you do as a business and if you're heading in the right direction, and as a result of this request, if you are going to grow and it'll help you increase your profits on your turnover, then yeah, you know, we will be interested in speaking with you.
I think it's gentleman Chris here was saying about there's a concern at the start of approaching banks, and we certainly felt that as well. But I think once you're more established as well, you create your own glass ceiling by that continuing fear of giving some away as well, of course, which is an element of it. But actually, you know, what are the implications of doing this? But then your business, which may be perfectly sound, like we'd like to go to London, that's a logical step for us to get there, and maybe Sheffield and Manchester as well, but we'd maybe hold back because we might cut our own throat in terms of what we've already achieved in a way. So it's a difficult decision, really.
Just into Melissa, first part of the question, is there any particular bias from what the LEP does towards manufacturing at the expense of sort of service-oriented organisations?
I can't really say there's necessarily a bias. We've got key sector support. I mean, obviously what we do is public funded, so our projects do have specific criteria, particularly the European funded projects. We have to be very, very compliant and make sure that everything that we do obviously meets all the funding criteria. So I think some of the products naturally lend themselves to manufacturing, but you know, we're also looking to support the digital and creative industry as an example, financial and business services. We've got some key sectors that we consider as being our high growth sectors, and where we've got significant business base in those sectors as well. Manufacturing here in Yorkshire is one of our biggest sectors, so it's natural that we would want to support, you know, those sectors. We want to keep those businesses here in the Leeds City region. So
and there's grant support in there.
yeah, and a lot of the things that we've talked about are grant support. I mean, we do have one loans programme, but we do have platforms to refer people to that specialise in those kinds of, you know, the sort of debt finance and things like that, things that we've covered today. But in terms of the grant support, there is an element, obviously an expectation that businesses provide some of the funding, you know, there's the match funding element, so it isn't just, you know, huge grants that we're giving away, that there's nothing, you know, there's sort of, the businesses have to contribute to that as well. But yes, I suppose, you know, in terms of, as I said, manufacturing is a huge, you know, sector for us, and we want to support it, we want to keep it here, yeah.
Did they answer your questions, or
Oh yeah.
you happy with the answers? Yeah.
I think in terms of managing expectations, that's exactly what the growth service is there to do. It's an opportunity for businesses to contact us, to talk through what they actually do, what they're wanting to do, and we would be able to help manage your expectations by giving you some solutions or not, and being honest with you and saying we don't have something that we can, you know, support you with. And that's about us being responsible and as I said, being honest about those things. So that's one thing that we do. We've also got a team of growth managers. As I mentioned, Phil is in the room. I think he's still in the room, hopefully. And that's one of the specific things. His role is to go out and meet with those businesses in that one-to-one type face-to-face capacity, sit down, have a conversation, and again, talk you through. It's exploring what your ambitions are, where you want to be, what you want to achieve, and then being honest about, yeah, we can help, or this is the right project, this is the right product for you, and or this is not, and the reasons why, and explaining why.
Phil and Phil's colleagues are sort of more sort of based in cities, aren't they? So
absolutely,
Bradford,
district
Leeds,
based. We've got our growth managers.
So they've got expertise within that particular geographical area too.
And they're well connected to different, you know, to different programs, to different organisations, to key contacts as well. It's about those making those trusted quality referrals, but just in terms of managing your expectation, the starting point is giving us a call so that we understand what you want to achieve, and encouraging your friends, your family, whoever's in business to do the same thing, because that's ultimately what our service is there to do, is to take that headache away from trying to find out what's there and having the conversation with us, and we'll be able to hopefully point you in the right direction.
I know exactly what you mean though, Carl, so I totally empathise with you. Not plugging Yen too much, but we do try and be a sort of knowledge transfer mechanism as well. So if you go on the Yen website, there's tons of information, although that's not always the best route, I know, because you've got to read the information. Would you like to say anything, Jeremy, on the question that Carl asked about?
Just, Carl, that we take people from the start to the finish. So from the first meeting I have with the client through to me delivering the decision to you, it'll be me that actually signs up your loan agreement and actually submits them. So I can only say that I deal with customers on a face-to-face, one-to-one basis from start to finish, and that's why customers latterly regularly ring us up and ask for the same person that arranged it, because they say our business. And I wouldn't say we'd have as deep an understanding as the relationship with your bank, who are dealing with a lot more transactions through your banking day in, day out. Yet we seem to resonate that level of one-to-one interaction with our customers, that they do remember us and they want us to look after them. Same with the startup loans. We're a delivery partner for the government startup loan scheme. So the only thing that's dealt with in London is that's where the government have their head office. But we're a delivery partner, so we're authorised to sanction those loans. So we make the decision, and then once we sanction it, the paperwork is sent from London to the customer to sign and postal back. So that's the only bit that we don't do, but that's after we've delivered the decision. So we're the people who sit with you and talk you through it. So I can only say, yes, we don't need letters of decline. I can categorically tell you that. We do sit with clients, or you can come in and meet us. And that's why we have staff both in Bradford, Leeds, Goole, Newcastle, Darlington. We have them, try and spread them all over so that you can access one face-to-face wherever you may be. And that's why we're delighted to deliver it all over Yorkshire. And we just need to spread our people all over Yorkshire.
Answer your question. Would you like anything from NatWest?
I just think from
Say yes.
yeah, from the bank side, just coming in on that. Obviously, I've never run my own business, but I've worked with businesses for like 30 years. But I don't have all the answers, so that's why we work with people like Phil and the Beth. So we sit with our clients, and the thing about like helping them do the business plan, sometimes it's your business, so you've got to have thought of your business, you've got to have got a plan. No matter who you go to, even if you're not looking for finance, we say to people, do a plan. We have everything on our website. It's all free. You don't have to bank with NatWest to use all the plans. But what we find is, if we direct people, if they haven't done a plan and they don't know where to start, we'll direct them to the likes of Phil and say, look, they're there to help you, because they help you with the plan. And if you've done the plan yourself, it's got a lot more substance behind it. So it is definitely a 2-3-way thing sometimes.
I think the only thing I'd like to add to what Liz just said there, Carl, you mentioned you've been doing this since the 80s. Back in the 80s, I was very, very young, so I wasn't really familiar with what goes on with businesses. But with the experience that I've had now working in banking, and I've been around for 15 years in the banking sector, what I can probably say is that we are now moving more and more towards the old school bank manager, okay? And I think that's probably what people want, effectively, where you want to go to a bank manager who you can sit with, and somebody who is well known in the business community in that particular city, in that particular area, and not just knowledgeable around the whole around banking, but also has contacts and connections within the local professional community as well, where if banks can't support your particular requirements, we'll have connections and contacts with other professionals who we can refer you to. I mean, we're very proud to say that within our Bradford team, we have 9 bank managers spread from Bradford all the way to Harrogate and Knaresborough and Keighley, North Yorkshire, and every single one of us is an experienced bank manager, and we are fully externally accredited, so we're fully qualified to give you advice as well and share our knowledge and experiences. But like I said, what it all comes down to is just that sort of local knowledge, and we work very closely with Phil, we work very closely with the Beth, so I think we are now more, and I understand maybe post-recession, post-2008, 2009, during that period, yes, there was a period of uncertainty and the banks did change their appetite towards a lot of things. But now I feel that we are out there in the marketplace. Just go to your bank and say, I want to speak to the bank manager, Faisal Khan. I want to arrange a meeting, and there's no problem. We're more than happy to sit with you and have that business discussion.
Okay, good. Got time for probably one, or if it's short questions, 2 more questions.
Okay, so a key part of what our service really is designed for growing businesses rather than startup support, but we don't have a wrong door policy, so we are starting to see an increase now in the number of people that are contacting us. We are seeing an increase in the number of pre-starts and early stage businesses. And again, what we do is we refer them on to the appropriate startup support. So we don't specifically go and market ourselves as startup support, but if people come to us, then we would absolutely refer them on. So we've got a national business support helpline where people can get free advice. Again, they can spend time with qualified business advisors and they can actually talk through business proposals to think whether they're feasible. Again, receive advice about how they would put in place business plans, how they would undertake market research, things they might need to consider like intellectual property if they're designing products and things like that, and where they can go to get help and support. So again, just to kind of reinforce what we do, we're enablers really. We're there to connect people to the right support. So we would connect people that are early stage, pre-start, to the organisations that can help, because a lot of our products, as you rightly identified, are for more established businesses. So has that kind of answered your question? Yeah.
Time for one more question before we break. There'll be plenty of opportunity afterwards to speak to any of the panel members specifically.
Thank you. It's less a question, more a statement, or a couple of statements. One, I think Mark here summed an element up, is that combined with what you said with the death of the demise of the bank managers in the 90s actually was a major factor in the 2002, 2007, 2008 crash, because it was the chase for profit, and it led to the death of the manufacturing industry, or significant end of the manufacturing industry. The main part is there was an awful lot of help out there for small businesses. There's an awful lot of networking, YN being one of them, where people can actually speak to other people, and I would encourage anybody within a small business. We've been training for 3 years. That help has been instrumental in moving us from 2 people to 8 people in that sort of period of time. Without that networking, without speaking to other people who've been there, not just the individuals at the front there, I would encourage anybody to go through that process. To really, you find out about the lab, you find out about the BEF. You don't find out about them by doing Google searches. Because Google searches will bring companies that are looking to make profit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's wonderful. Thank you very much for that statement. It's a wonderful statement on which to end the formal session. I'd like to just thank all the panellists for making their time freely available to come along and one, present, and secondly, be available to answer your questions. Hopefully they've done a fairly good job. They're all available, I think, I understand, for networking, and there's plenty of information available from each one of them. Finally, I'd like to thank Melissa and the LEP in particular for being instrumental in putting this event together, and of course Emily and Cedar Court for hosting the event. So thanks again to Emily, Melissa and the panellists. Can I just have a quick round of applause for everybody?